Hey RV family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, reviewing music for the love of music, and welcome back to the metal Tempest. And in this video I'm going to be covering the new 5-finger Death Punch record entitled AfterLife. This is the 9th studio-length album by the American heavy metal and hard rock band 5-Finger Death Punch, the first to not feature longtime guitarist Jason Hook since 2007, who's been replaced with Andy James back in 2020. And I'm pretty sure I can predict what most of you think that this review is going to be. It's going to be me ragging on and shitting on 5-Finger Death Punch for a little bit of time, putting some gut punches in the mix, and just calling it a day. But the thing about this record, and the thing that left me scratching my head when I listened to it twice in one sitting, which maybe just proves that I really am a musical sadomasochist, and evidently a glutton for punishment. I was left scratching my head because I think I didn't want to make this review just me pulling a bunch of punches and trying to just rag on 5-Finger Death Punch. Because I have seen them live, and I can respect that when it comes to the greater landscape of heavy metal and hard rock, for all of the people that say that they are the worst of the worst, I ask you this question. Are they really? What sets 5-Finger Death Punch apart from saying that, like, a modern trap rapper that is just playing by the numbers and being boring and admittedly derivative is the worst trap artist of the day? Because I would rather something be predictable than just be garbage. And I will say that this record is kinda garbage, but I'll get into that in a minute. When I think of hard rock and heavy metal in the current day, the worst band of the block isn't 5-Finger Death Punch in my opinion. That's not the first name that comes to my mind. When you have bands like Disturbed and Godsmack releasing some of their worst material, Skillet making some overtly preachy and overly produced hard rock cliche record every couple of years, as well as bands like Greta Van Fleet doing their best Led Zeppelin impersonation every couple of years, I would much prefer listening to a very boring and derivative record from 5-Finger Death Punch being groovy and catchy and just trying to play by the numbers to their audience. And I think if nothing else, 5-Finger Death Punch have really perfected the formula of playing to their strengths that their audiences really want from them. This record really just left me bored, and that's pretty much the entirety of what I want to say about this record, but I want to go into some of the reasons why I think 5-Finger Death Punch have sold themselves short. Because I'll say one thing, their early material isn't nearly as gratuitous and a slog to get through as their recent material. And it's because they've played into their pitfalls and they've played into their own little niche to such an effect that I think they have drowned in the meta of 5-Finger Death Punch lore. Ivan is pretty much both the best part and the worst part of this record. He is like this commanding authority vocally, and he has some great vocal dynamics. He sort of has this commanding rasp like a Corey Taylor, and when he hops on a track, especially if it's more groove-laden and chuggy, he usually fits like a glove. And the main thing that just is laughable about this record is, number one, the lyricism. The lyricism boils down to the us against them mentality, and Ivan almost every single track just talking about how, you know, they're coming for you, they're coming for me, they're coming for us. Am I the only one that doesn't buy into the lies? Am I the only one that feels this pain? Which, yes, those latter two things that I just said are actual lyrics on this album. No, Ivan, you are not the only one that thinks these things. If you go on Facebook and look at any conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hat wearer, you're gonna get most of these lyrics. And the things you're saying about, you know, all of the people coming for you, and they're coming for the industry, and they're coming for everyone, and, you know, it's us against them, and we have to stand up and fight them. Am I the only one that's not buying into the deception? Like, it's so corny. And when you have Ivan's vocals doing these weird acrobatics and odd choices, it makes it even worse. And that's another thing that I have with this record, is Ivan is laying into the worst parts of his vocal range many times. The opening track, Welcome to the Circus, I actually was pretty into when it first started. It set the tone, it set the atmosphere, it was demented, and even if it was on the nose, Zoltan and Adam's guitar skills rhythmatically came together to make a really groovy riff, and Ivan, even though the lyrics were pretty basic, he was like shouting and yelling over this in a way that was very satisfying and grunterial, but mixing wise and vocally, it's not some of his strongest material. And welcome to the circus. The ending is gonna burn its actually, I don't know if my camera's picking this up. I'm almost in tears of how funny the ending of this track is. He goes into this lyric and this atmospheric breakdown. There are tears in my fucking eyes right now. Where he just gets up against the mic and says, "Tiggy tiggy tasket, time to burn the casket, time to burn this motherfucker down." And you would assume that this would mean that there would be something that would change in the rhythm, something that would change in the tempo, something that would change in the pitch, maybe a breakdown, maybe something heavier. But no, it just goes into the same overly cleanly, hard rock cliche chorus. AfterLife has one of the more boring choruses on this album, and once again, Ivan is engaging in these claustrophobic vocals at various points that leave these tracks just sounding boring. And times like these, even though it is one of the more standout tracks, it's a more low-key sort of show-stopping, emotionally powerful track, and even if the lyrics aren't doing anything that's really blowing me away, I did get behind the mood and the vibe of this track. But once again, in the latter half, he just layers vocals with all of these effects, and he just sits atop this mix right in your face, and it's just not pleasing. But the next track, Roll Dem Bones, while simple, I have to say this about every track, it is a 5-finger Death Punch song by the numbers, is at least tolerable, and I think what they do here is pretty much what they should do. Groovy, not that technical, just heavy metal and hard rock tracks with a solo, a catchy chorus, infecting verses. But then later on the track listing, not more than 2 tracks later, and I cannot physically believe that I am about to say these words to you. 5-finger Death Punch makes a trap and hard rock hybrid. For copyright purposes, I'm not going to be playing it loudly, but I have my laptop here, and I want you to hear the start of this track, and tell me that you could have guessed in a million years that this is the opener to a 5-finger Death Punch track. I know that I said I wasn't going to rag too hard on them, but like, is this just are we ticking off the boxes of the generic here? Are we really going to have this distorted, basic-ass trap beat leading you into the track, complete with the modern trope of just the woes and the ahs, faded out group vocal sounding vocals? Oh, and Ivan tries to like semi-sing rap over these verses, like, and the fact of the matter is, maybe this would be forgivable if it wasn't almost 5 minutes worth of material. It's the second longest song on the album. And the thing of 5-finger Death Punch, another thing that left me scratching my head, is how does a record that clearly has such a large budget behind it, one of the most popular heavy metal and hard rock bands right now, come out the other side, having passed through, I'm sure, many executives and many producers and many people that were shuffling around and listening to this album for PR or whatever, and they still think it's a good idea to release an album that is this overly compressed and just badly mixed and blown the hell out. How this just has such a massive budget, but it comes out the other side sounding this cheapened and this boring is beyond me. How you manage to make hard rock and heavy metal riffs sound this uneventful. I wanted to give this album the benefit of the doubt because I think that 5-finger Death Punch, when they are focused, genuinely can make some good riffs and some good choruses, and this isn't the worst thing I've heard this year. It's just funny how boring and basic it is, and it's extremely simplistic, and even the moments that are standouts on this record are not some of 5-finger Death Punch's strongest material. Tracks like Roll Dem Bones, which maybe has some of the best hallmarks of 5-finger Death Punch and is one of the more tolerable songs on this album, you could get exactly what this track entails on any host of other 5-finger Death Punch tracks in the past that just did it better produced, better choruses, better verses, better riffs, and I think that's the issue with playing in a formula. You are bound to make material that is just a step down compared to what you are mimicking within your own style, and that impersonation of the best parts of your sound is going to inevitably put you in a place where you have the expectations of your diehard fans who want to hear the same thing over and over, but also the complete disdain of the people that didn't like your sound to begin with. And I guess playing to their fold, playing to their fan base is a marketing tactic that is smart because they are clearly doing well for themselves. But just from a critical, objective standpoint, this is one of the weakest and just most uneventful records I've heard this year, and that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Overall, though, I'm going to be giving this album a 3 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new 5-finger Death Punch record, AfterLife? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss this record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.